Hello everyone, how's it going? Coming to you with another episode of my inexpensive knife series, and this time we are looking at a Sheffield. I know, a little bit odd. This is the Sheffield Gunnison. Alright, now I reviewed the VTech Titan X1, I believe it was, several years back, and I loved that knife, but I mentioned how hard it was to find. Well, the Sheffield Gunnison is the exact same knife in every regard, except it uses a 440A blade, as opposed to a 440C blade, but other than that, the materials are the same. Obviously, this one doesn't have the black coating or the textured aluminum handle, but the build quality, where it is made, the handle material still being aluminum, the pocket clip, everything about this is the same as that VTech. So, if you guys liked the VTech Titan but couldn't find one, maybe you saw my review, maybe you saw Nothing Fancy's review, maybe you remember it from years and years and years ago, the Gunnison may be a way for you to go. Again, 440A as opposed to 440C, it is not going to perform as well in terms of edge holding, but overall design, it's comfortable in hand. The 440A blade, I feel, is adequate for everyday carry tasks, and honestly, for under 15 bucks, I don't really think you can go wrong. Here's the box. I'm getting into the habit of showing off the packaging whenever I can, if I have it. In this case, I do. It is a pretty simple layout. We can see our, if I'll focus, there we go. Our model number being 12711, made in Taiwan. Some information, this is probably used for the warehouse where it was stored. And there's like a warranty card in there. Pretty basic, pretty straight to the point. So, this is the Sheffield Gunnison. Now I'm going to start out by saying I haven't used this particular Gunnison. I did use another one, and I'm going to be talking about why I'm showing this one first here in a little bit. But first, let's get the boring stuff out of the way. We have a 3-inch long Sebenza style drop point 440A blade, a 6061 T6 aluminum handle that is 4 inches long with very little traction. It weighs 3.2 ounces. It costs less than 15 bucks. Okay, cool. So technical specs are out of the way. What else can we talk about say about the knife? Well, for one, how about the blade grind? The blade grind on here is a very nice hollow grind, okay, and it came razor sharp out of box. At least this one did. My other one needed to be touched up. This one is still wearing its factory edge, and it is scary sharp. Okay, the hollow ground blade slices extremely well. I noticed in my testing with this other one, it sliced beautifully through cardboard, through small cordage, as well as basic stuff like food preparation. And also a very great package opener, thanks to how nice and fine that tip is. It is a very fine pointed tip, which I actually don't see a lot of on knives in this price point. Even today, when the quality of budget knives is so much higher than it used to be, I can very rarely find a good sharp tip. They usually rounded it. And I'll show you an example of a competitive option later that, had the same issue. We do have a nice rounded spine, as is expected from a Sebenza type knife. Not all the Sebenza copies have it, but this one does. It's a nice touch. Doesn't serve any purposeful use, but it makes it look nice. And we also do have some pretty good jimping top side of the blade. See if I can get that to show up on camera. My camera's having a hard time focusing here lately. There you go. Cut relatively deep, and it does lock the thumb in very nicely. Okay, and then on the blade itself, we can see Sheffield stainless 440A. In terms of edge holding, the 440A on this particular knife has been above par for 440A. Still not to the levels of, AUS 8, 440B, 440C, 8CR, 13MOV, or so on. But it has performed very well for 440A. It's kind of on the upper end of 440A blades. And as I've mentioned several times before, you really don't need a high-end steel for your everyday carry tasks if you are an average going guy. Okay? If your average EDC task is opening mail, opening packages, slicing up cardboard on rare occasion, food preparation, popping a string off your shirt, whatever the case may be, opening clamshell packages, 440A will serve you absolutely fine, and it's a breeze to sharpen. Okay, it sharpens up readily and takes a very, very nice fine edge. You can see the logo there on the blade. Okay. It is a satin finish blade, and we do have dual thumb studs. You can see the kind of thumb studs we have here. A traditional stepped pattern, and the knife does deploy readily. Okay. Pretty quick. We have a somewhat hollow sounding lockup if you listen to that. Okay, not super hollow. Super hollow would be the sound of the Gerber Air Ranger. But still, a somewhat hollow lockup. You may not like that. It is a liner lock. And you can see that we do have a full steel liner for that liner lock. It's not an inset or captured liner lock, and it is not skeletonized. But again, at 3.2 ounces, it's really not that heavy. Centering is less than perfect, but it's not rubbing the liner. Holding this up to the light, I can see light clearly through that, and we do have a decent lanyard hole. However, it's pretty much worthless because the knife carries tip down only right-hand side. Go ahead and show you how this carries. It is a deep carry clip. I'm not a big fan of deep carry clips, but I know a lot of you guys are. This one will be an excellent option for you. Okay, the handle is comfortable. It is every bit as comfortable as that VTech was, and it feels great even throughout, you know, long-term use. It is an ergonomic knife to hold. I can't really speak. It's comfy, and that is what's important. So, why do I have two here? Well, for one, this particular one here was a gift from my mother. She told me she was ordering me a knife. I didn't know what it was, and this is what came in. And this was a surprise gift from my friend Nick. So they both had the same idea. I guess they went through my wish list or whatever the case may be, and they saw that I wanted this knife. So why do I want to show off this version and not this one? Because this one had some problems. Okay, this one came just fine. Aside from some somewhat off-centering, it came just fine. It deploys quick, it locks up solid, no blade play, excellent knife, no liner lock stick. Why do I mention liner lock stick? Because this one does so. Not all the time, and I can, you know, it's a lot less frequent now that I've reversed that pivot point, which, let's talk about this. Out of box, the female head is on the front, so the presentation side. The male head is hidden underneath that pocket clip. So every time you want to adjust your action or your lockup, you need to remove that pocket clip just to get to the male head. I found that frustrating, so I took the clip off, knocked the pivot screw out and the female end out, and flipped them. And as we can see, that does help. It does work. You can have the male head on this side. It doesn't look as nice, but it's a hell of a lot more practical. Kind of wish they did that out of box anyways. However, another reason why I did it, besides just getting annoyed by it, was that my liner lock kept sticking. And I was trying to find ways to fix it. I was trying to fix the centering because this one did rub out of box. It's not rubbing now, but it's still heavily favoring the right-hand side. And since I flipped that pivot point around, it doesn't stick nearly as frequently, but I can still get it to stick on occasion if I deploy it hard enough. I'll see if I can do it on camera. Yep. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. You see how that liner has overextended? Let's compare it to the stock one. And to disengage, this requires a lot of force. It'll give you a very audible pop. Go ahead and listen. If I can get it. There we go. A lot of force to disengage that liner. Okay, didn't do it that time, but it did do it that time. I have to really flick it now to get it to happen. So it's not a huge issue, but it does still happen. And that is a problem with these more affordable knives. Very oftentimes you'll find some quality inconsistencies. However, for the $8 they're currently selling for on Amazon.com, it's really not all that big of an issue. In terms of function, they work great. Again, they deploy fast, they lock up solid, they hold an edge reasonably well for an average EDC knife. Are they the best option on the market, though? No, they're not. I think they're adequate folding knives. I think they're worth adding to your collection. I think they're a lot of fun. They're definitely nice looking because they have straight up stolen the Sebenza design, and I don't have a problem with stolen designs, guys. Copies don't bother me. Companies of all different products copy each other all the time. If every, yes, this is a Sebenza copy, but as a guitar player, if I looked at any acoustic guitar and said, oh, I don't want that, it's a copy of a Martin, I would be excluding literally about half of the options on the market. That would be excluding the old Takamine lawsuits, the Sigma guitars, the Blue Ridge lines, so on and so forth. As an electric guitar player, which I don't do much of, if I said, hey, I don't want to buy that, that's a copy of a Stratocaster, there goes 3/4 of the entirety of the electric guitar market. So, just being honest, design copies don't bother me. And honestly, it's a nice way to get a feel for that more expensive knife and how it, you know, feels in hand, the ergonomics, the overall looks. And this is a beautiful looking knife. It's a handsome knife, but is it the best choice for the money? No, it's not. Let's go ahead and roll in some other options. Here's the Sanren 710. Okay, this one with the Puma or Wildcat on the handle. This is a stainless steel frame lock, also a Sebenza copy. Hollow ground 8CR 13 MOV blades. I believe the new ones are using 14 MOV. Nice functional jimping top side, kind of a flanged thumb stud design. Also a right hand tip down carry only, not a deep carry clip. Centering, listing a little bit to the left, but not nearly as badly as these are to the right. Deploys fast, locks up solid. Excellent high value EDC knife. About 15 bucks or so these days. So if I had to pick between the Sheffield Gunnison and the Sanren 710, which would I pick? 710. It's a better knife. This is a good knife for the money. It's perfectly adequate, but this is just a better constructed knife. Okay, the lock on this doesn't stick up no matter how hard I deploy it, and I've never had a single one that did. And I've owned lots of these 710s. Granted, it's a frame lock, not a liner lock, but even still, I would prefer to have this over this. How about that Gerber Harsey Air Ranger I mentioned before? Obviously, this one's the older plain edge one with the aluminum handles. Can't really find the plain edge aluminums anymore, but you can find the combo edge ones for about 20 bucks, so more than this, but still a budget knife. Very nice jimping top side. It's a Bill Harsey design. Here's the pocket clip on this one. Carries about so deep. Aluminum handle, captured liner lock. The modern versions use a 7CR 17 MOV blade. So, pretty comparable to the 440A, although Gerber's 7CR 17 is not the best. You know, it's a similar knife, compare the size. Let you try a Harsey design, let you try a Chris Reeve design. If I had to pick between the two, my Air Ranger, all day. Here's kind of an older option, not really a competitive option that you can find anymore, but I have it, so I want to show it. This is the Bird Crow in aluminum. Much heavier. I think this is 3.8 ounces, aluminum handle, 8CR 13 blade, non-skeletonized stainless steel liners. Very ergonomic in hand, though. Had this one for a very, very long time. Still locks up like a tank. And if I have to choose, I'll carry this over the Sheffield Gunnison. Now, I know I sound like I'm dogging on the Gunnison. I do carry these and I do use them, but they're far from my first choice. One last option. This will likely be the next inexpensive episode. This is the Smith & Wesson Extreme Ops CK105. Okay, these come in also under 15 bucks. 7CR 17 MOV blade. Pretty decent 7CR 17 too. I actually like this better than the Gerber 7CRs. Also an aluminum handle, though a lower grade than this. This is the 6061 T6. This is just some kind of cast aluminum. It's much lower quality. Functional jimping on the spine. You may notice this looks a lot like that Gerber Air Ranger because it is a copy of the Air Ranger. So we're putting a Harsey copy against a Chris Reeve copy. Nice hollow ground blade. Also a liner lock. Does not stick no matter how hard I flick this thing open. This one has a modified clip because the stock clip sucked, so I put a new clip on it. In that regard, the Gunnison is a better knife than this Smith & Wesson. And overall design, or overall length rather, pretty similar. If I have to pick between the Gunnison and the Smith & Wesson, it's a 50-50. I go back and forth. I think I prefer the Smith & Wesson just a little bit, but the Gunnison is a great knife in a lot of respects. It just has some quality control issues. And I want to just say that real quickly. If I was reviewing just this one, and I only had this one to review, it would be getting much higher praise from me. Okay, it really would be. But since I also have this one, I know that there is quality inconsistencies. And who knows, maybe this is just a lemon, maybe maybe more of them are like this than they are like this. But I have two samples, so for me it seems to be a 50-50 shot. I can't really identify beyond that. But if you're looking for an inexpensive Chris Reeve style knife, maybe you wanted that VTech Titan but can't find it, this is a way to go. It's a nice, relatively light, very affordable, very functional, everyday carry knife option. So, hope you guys have enjoyed the review. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and until next time, peace, and take care.